Happy Aloha Friday. Thanks for joining us on This Is Now. First at noon, Honolulu firefighters are battling a wildfire in West Oahu.
Officials say the blaze in Nanakuli near Lualualei Naval Road has been contained, but crews are still working on hot spots. The call came in at around 9:30 this morning, and the fire was brought under control about an hour later. HFD says about 3 acres have been scorched. Smoke was heavy in the area, but no homes were threatened. We're going to have updates on this fire on air and online. New video of a wildfire that scorched 35 acres in Makaha in less than a day. The flames were first reported at 1 p.m. yesterday at the old Makaha Valley Golf Course. HFD attacked the flames on the ground and in the skies with water drops from helicopters. We're told no homes were threatened, but the smoke and flames were still too close for comfort.
I've been packing since probably around an hour ago, maybe, just trying to get everything ready just in case the fire comes.
We got more dry tinder up in the mountains because now it's the summertime and everything's getting brown, and the wind's going to shift towards the mountain direction, and it's going to get worse on the fire.
Afternoon sea breezes kept the flames and smoke from spreading to neighborhoods makai of the blaze. HFD says the fire was contained as of about 8 p.m. last night. Honolulu police are searching for a suspect accused in an attempted murder case on the windward side. It happened yesterday afternoon around 2 p.m. in the Ka'a'ava area. We're told a man and woman were at the beach when a man took their stuff and ran to a car. When they tried to stop him, the suspect allegedly drove at and hit one of them. The victim had some cuts but is expected to be okay. The suspect drove away and has not been caught. Police have not released a description of the man or his car. HPD is also investigating a possible shooting at Ala Moana Center. Just before noon yesterday, a 20-year-old man says someone fired a gun at him. Sources tell us it happened in the parking lot on the mall level by Macy's. No arrests have been made. Child predator Sonny Puerto faces 10 years in prison after a Big Island jury convicted the 32-year-old for 1 count of electronic enticement of a minor. Puerto sent text messages requesting sex from an undercover police officer posing as a 13-year-old girl back in 2021. He's being held on $500,000 bail until his sentencing in October. Vice President Kamala Harris has won enough delegate votes to secure the Democratic presidential nomination.
I am so proud to confirm that Vice President Harris has earned more than a majority of votes from all convention delegates and will be the nominee of the Democratic Party following the close of voting on Monday.
Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison announced today that she received a majority of votes in the party's ongoing virtual roll call. The DNC will not make an official announcement of results until the vote is complete Monday evening. The vice president thanked delegates for their votes on a call with her supporters after the announcement.
I am honored to be the presumptive Democratic nominee for President of the United States, and I will tell you the tireless work of our delegates, our state leaders, and staff has been pivotal in making this moment possible. And your dedication cannot be overstated. Your dedication to our country.
Harris is running unopposed for the Democratic nomination after President Biden dropped his re-election bid and endorsed her last month. Meanwhile, the chair of Hawaii's Democratic Party, Derek Turbin, says they received their ballots yesterday and have until noon on August 5th to submit them. He says all of their Biden pledged delegates have pledged their votes to Harris. Hawaii is sending 31 delegates to the DNC this month.
Joining us now in the H&N Digital Center is our chief investigative reporter, Lynn Kawano, to talk about all of the latest developments in the Dana Ireland case. Now, Lynn, this is something that you have covered extensively, and in fact, you broke the news over the weekend about the latest developments. Can you give us a quick recap of the case so far?
Absolutely. You know, kind of exciting stuff. Genetic genealogy DNA. It's a new technology. We say new. They've been using it for a little while, but it's what's caught the Golden State Killer. It's what solved the case in the Idaho murders, the University of Idaho case, and brought a suspect forth. That's what happened here in the Dana Ireland case. So after 33 years, genealogy, genetic testing was able to pinpoint a suspect, Albert Laurel Jr. Albert Laurel Jr. lived within 2 miles of where Dana Ireland's body was left for dead along this fishing trail in Wa'a in 1991 on Christmas Eve. Dana Ireland was 23 years old. She was out riding her bike on Christmas Eve. She was hit by a car. She was raped. She was taken to this fishing trail and left for dead. She died the next day of blood loss. This has been an unsolved case for a long time. People dispute that, right? This is one of those cases because 3 people were convicted of the crime, but last year, a circuit court judge in Hilo overturned those convictions, vacated the convictions of 2 of those men. The third, Frank Pauline, died in prison. So the case became a cold case again last year. And only because of this DNA testing, fascinating stuff how they do this, because of this DNA testing were they able to pinpoint a new suspect. Now, what happened, though, is we may never get answers, right? Because this man then committed suicide 4 days after police brought him in, talked to him, interviewed Albert Laurel Jr., and took a DNA cheek swab. This is just for further DNA analysis, just to confirm that he indeed was the only suspect whose DNA was found at the crime scene in 1991.
Now, as you mentioned, this has been a mystery for over 30 years now, and prosecutors and investigators aren't exactly saying this case is closed. There was some disagreement in court recently. Can you tell us about that?
It's far from closed, really, even though they have this suspect name. Because he killed himself, all that's really left is that hour-long interview with police. You know, up until then, we don't know if he ever spoke about this case, if he ever told anyone about the Dana Ireland case. So this 1-hour videotape that police say they have when they interviewed him and then when they took the cheek swab, that may be the only evidence that's left. And he made some statements, according to the police chief, Ben Moskowitz, that they are now going back and tracing. We don't know what that is. He would not tell me that. But when I interviewed him on Monday, he did say they have an hour-long video. They do have some statements that he made. He did not confess to the murder, but they are trying to go backtrack, test some of the things that he spoke about to see if that's true. They also were able to crack his cell phone. There were no cell phones in 1991, or if they were the big box luggage ones. But they were able to crack his cell phone, and that will hopefully give him some insight. You know, his last few days before he committed suicide, did he leave a note? Did he tell someone what was going on? Did he give any type of confession? So they're working on getting that. It is far from over. There are some statements in court, and there is actually a disagreement in court. There's going to be more hearings coming up over some of this evidence and who should be allowed to view this evidence.
And Lynn, I also want to ask you about one more thing. This has been a long case over 30 years, as mentioned. But the developments, you've worked closely with the Hawaii Innocence Project. What was it like to bring this story back to light after all these years?
You know, it was sad. It was really sad. Last year in court, when Albert Ian Schweitzer was the first one to have that conviction vacated, it was really sad. He was flown in from Saguaro. He's been in prison for 23 years. They flew him from prison in Arizona to Hawaii, to a Hilo courtroom. He had no idea that this was going to happen. They removed the handcuffs, removed the shackles, and that was the first time he was free. And I remember interviewing him not long after that and him saying, I can wake up when I want to. I can go to sleep when I want to. I can eat when I want to. So this wrongful conviction and the fact that it was vacated, it's very sad to think that someone went to prison who shouldn't have gone to prison. He was a nurse working on Kauai when he was arrested in 1990. It was 1999 or 98. And then to have to then go to prison, it's just a very sad case to me. I'm glad to see this move forward, though. I hope Dana Ireland's sister, who is still alive, her parents have since passed, but her sister's still alive on the East Coast. I hope that she can maybe get some answers, some justice. It's sad that Albert Laurel killed himself. No one will be able to face him in court and hear for himself, you know, what happened. It's almost like you can't deny he was at the crime scene. The DNA speaks for itself. But to know what happened and to hear it from him, to be denied that, it makes me very sad for her family as well.
Well, Arlene Kawano, you have been doing some incredible work on this story, and we appreciate all your coverage.
Thank you.
Authorities are investigating the stabbing of a Hawaii inmate at the Saguaro Correctional Center in Arizona. On Saturday, Maui native Daniel Kosi was found with multiple wounds inside his private cell. The state says another inmate first attacked a prison guard and took his keys to unlock the cells of 3 other inmates, who then entered Kosi's cell and attacked him.
They're not dogs, they're not animals, they're human beings. They're somebody's family, they're someone's loved one. We all bleed the same. We're all human.
Consider it's attempt murder. It's in my heart, attempt murder. Why him?
Kosi is serving 8 life terms for 2 murders in 1997. The correctional officer was treated at a hospital and released. 3 Americans that were wrongfully detained in Russia are now safe on U.S. soil. But as Natalie Brown reports, the road to recovery can be a long one.
The emotional family reunions of Marine Corps veteran Paul Whelan, Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gerskovich, and radio journalist Alsu Kurmashiva, a first step on their road to recovery. The 3 Americans landed in Texas and are now undergoing medical evaluations and beginning the process of reintegration.
Coming home itself is really stressful.
Liz Cathcart is executive director of Hostage US, a resource for those wrongfully detained and their families.
Not only dealing with those types of traumas that you dealt with in captivity, but it's also then figuring out how to rebuild your new life.
Washington Post journalist Jason Rezaian, who is imprisoned in Iran for nearly a year and a half, experienced the challenges firsthand.
Trying to unpack the wounds and the baggage of what is inevitably an incredibly traumatic experience, and one that very few other people in your life are going to be able to relate to.
The Biden administration says it's still working to bring home other wrongfully detained Americans.
This is a really challenging moment for the families who didn't have somebody come home. Our heart goes out to them.
President Biden was asked Friday about Pennsylvania teacher Mark Fogel, who was arrested in Russia in 2021.
We're not giving up on that.
It's estimated more than 40 U.S. nationals are currently held hostage or wrongfully detained across 16 countries, according to the Foley Foundation. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Hunter Biden won't find out his fate until the country elects a new president. A federal judge has scheduled Biden's sentencing for November 13th, which is 8 days after Election Day. The president's son faces up to 25 years in prison, as well as a fine that could rise to $750,000. In June, a Delaware jury unanimously decided to convict Biden on 3 felony gun charges. Biden's attorney says they plan to challenge the verdict, a move that still might not hold off sentencing. President Biden has previously said he will not pardon his son. Hunter Biden is preparing for another criminal trial on federal tax charges that is scheduled for September. Well, it's been one of the hottest summers on record for most of the U.S. and the planet overall, which witnessed its hottest day on record last week. Ivan Rodriguez joins us now with how this heat is having an impact on the cost of fruits and vegetables.
Just like most of us, farmers are also dealing with the heat, but on a completely different level. Hotter temperatures are leading to higher growing costs, and that results in less harvestable produce. Inflation in the U.S. may be cooling since hitting a 4-decade high, but hotter temperatures are creating a new set of problems for farmers who grow the nation's food.
We are in, to a large extent, the business of managing risk, and this just impacts the risk of climate on the crops that we grow.
Tom Evanellis has been growing blueberries and citrus fruits in California and Oregon for decades. He says record-breaking heat is causing his business to suffer.
As it gets warmer, the fruit becomes more delicate, so we'll stop harvesting earlier, so it impacts the amount that we can harvest in a day.
Avanella says the cost farmers like him are incurring by upgrading irrigation systems will eventually be passed down to consumers. Drought concerns on the West Coast only add to the challenges.
As we've improved these irrigation systems, we are actually designing them to be able to provide the precise amount of water that the plant needs, so there's zero waste.
Higher produce prices are a reversal of a trend the country has seen over the last year, with the cost of fruits and vegetables dropping by 0.5%.
Much of this is going to be driven by climate change, which is very real, and we need to aggressively acknowledge that and take steps as a country and as a world to begin to navigate it most effectively.
For the rest of the summer, consumers aren't likely to see any significant increases in prices for seasonal fruit. Avenellis tells us that contracts with distributors and retailers are worked out far in advance, but the question remains just how much of an increase will consumers see in the coming years? In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Looking now to Hawaii Island, it's official. Hilo's famed Kwxx HOA is returning in early 2025. Organizers announced Thursday the event will take place January 18th in the heart of Hilo town. The event was called off this year due to permitting issues. However, Chris Leonard, co-founder and organizer, said despite logistical challenges, the mayor's office and county police departments were generally on board and supported the event. It's going into its 28th year, and the admission-free Ho'olaulea is one of Hilo's biggest community celebrations, which draws thousands of people from across the state to enjoy top-tier local entertainment.
We're very excited to have it back. It's a very special event. It's very special to us, but more importantly, it's very special to our community, and we're thrilled to be able to bring this back for our community. We've learned not to take these things for granted, and so while it is our hope that we continue to do this on an annual basis, we have a great appreciation for the fact that we're able to do it this year, and it's our hope that we can continue the tradition.
The event once again promises to feature 4 stages of musical entertainment along with food and craft vendors. The official lineup of entertainers is still in the works. Prior to this year's cancellation, the festival was also called off during the COVID pandemic.
And speaking of Hilo, here's a live look on this Aloha Friday. You can see some rain off there in the distance, but that's typical for Hilo this time of year too, especially during the summer. We're going to have a look at your weekend forecast with Guy Hagi after this quick break.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? We're now entering the 3rd month of hurricane season. Still very quiet here in the Central Pacific, and the East Pacific is ramping up. This is Tropical Storm Carlotta, expected to become a hurricane later by this afternoon, and then it's still expected to weaken before it gets to us, so it does not present a severe weather threat. Now, this morning, there's not much rain. What looks like rain that passed over Oahu, Well, that's military chaff. RIMPAC is in town again. And those winds are going to be running mostly under 15 miles an hour. And because the winds will run slower today and tomorrow, we're going to have slightly elevated humidity levels. Going to be a little bit sticky at times, but still should be mostly dry. Maybe a few showers this morning. And then there's a chance for some afternoon clouds and some early evening showers, but they'll be very spotty. They won't be widespread. And that's the weather pattern through tomorrow. Stronger trade winds due back in on Sunday. Now for today, the surf's going to be rising for south and southwest shores. A pretty good size swell. And you add that with the lighter winds and conditions will be very, very good. So get out there and enjoy it. It should be below advisory levels. So we've got these light trade winds today and tomorrow, right? A little sticky, maybe a few afternoon showers, but still mostly dry. And then we'll see a slight uptick in those showers when the trade winds pick up. They're expected to pick up on Sunday, and even more showers. A little bit of a increase in those showers are expected between Tuesday and Thursday of next week.
Joining us on this Aloha Friday for our Olympics sports recap is our Kyle Chinen in the H&N Digital Center. And Kyle, we're going to start with some kind of sad news out of Paris in the world of surfing. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Dylan. So Hawaii's Carissa Moore, surfing for Team USA, fell in the quarterfinal rounds yesterday in Tahiti of the Olympic surfing competition. She fell to France's Joanne Defay, closing her chapter in competitive surfing. She's the reigning gold medalist coming out of Tokyo, and we were hoping that she was going to go for that gold medal this year, but she falls in the quarterfinals and really kind of closes a chapter on her surfing career. Earlier this year, she announced that she's going to be taking a prolonged step away from competitive surfing, so we wish her the best, and, you know, she's still Hawaii's champ, and we were all rooting for her. But yeah, so this could be very well the final surfing competition for Carissa Moore. But we're going to keep moving right along. We're going to head to the track. So the final in the men's 10,000 meter, and Uganda's Joshua Cheptegei, he makes history. He has a record-setting performance, a bunch of fast guys on the track there. He wins the gold in that event, and he sets a new world record for that event. So just guys zooming on the track, and we're going to zoom right along. We're going to head to the courts for the men's tennis singles final, and it's a rivalry that has started to brew over the last couple of years. If you follow professional tennis, it is the OG, one of the top names in the sport for a long time, Novak Djokovic, going against Carlos Alcaraz, the young man out of Spain. He's kind of on a run. This is his first Olympics. Meanwhile, Djokovic is in his 5th Olympics. Neither of them have a gold medal, so they're both going for that gold medal match. And now this is 3 weeks removed from when they faced each other back in Wimbledon, a very high-stakes match over there for the Wimbledon trophy. Alcaraz came out on top. So this rivalry has just been brewing, and it's going to all culminate on the Olympic stage. And we have to talk volleyball. So the U.S. men's volleyball team just wrapped up their pool play match against Japan. They won in 4 sets, so 3-1. On the U.S. team, you have a bunch of local connections. You have Eric Shoji, Micah Christensen, Micah Ma'a, and UH alum Taylor Averill. So they're taking they just beat Japan, so now they are 3-0 in pool play and keep chugging along. I believe they either qualify and move on to the next stage, or they have one more game to decide if they make it out of pool play. But right now they're the top of their pool, and it is looking good for Team USA on the court.
A look at all of the big headlines out of Paris. The games so far have been so exciting.
So much fun.
And we are so grateful to be witnessing all these history-making moments. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the medal count. At last check, the United States has 43 overall medals, and as of earlier today, 9 of them were gold. But overall, China is leading the pack with the gold medals. 13 of their 30 medals are first place gold. Be sure to stay with Hawaii News Now. We are your Olympic station.
The job market has been red hot the last couple of years, but things are now cooling down significantly. Bradley Blackburn has a look at the latest jobs report.
The healthcare industry brought on 55,000 workers last month, and construction sites continue to see more jobs. But many other industries, including tech, are seeing a hiring slowdown. The Labor Department says the economy added 114,000 jobs in July, a slowdown from the previous 2 months. The unemployment rate jumped from 4.1 to 4.3%.
This is a significant slowdown from what we thought was going to happen.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says many Fed watchers are now questioning the central bank's decision Wednesday not to cut interest rates, which could give the economy a boost.
I think that the Federal Reserve and economists are now starting to worry that this soft landing that they were trying to engineer may not occur. It could be a lot bumpier than they expected.
Even though it may be harder to get a job in certain industries, there is one sector on a hiring spree. Schools nationwide are trying to hire more teachers with the new academic year quickly approaching. The jobs fair in Lake County, Florida, near Orlando, looked to fill more than 100 positions. Ryan Myers was one of the many applicants.
I've been substitute teaching for the last 5 or 6 years.
Bus drivers are also in high demand. The school district in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia, is one place that needs them.
As some people know, there is a nationwide shortage. We here at Upper Darby are not exempt from that, unfortunately.
The district is offering incentives, including free training for a commercial driver's license.
We do all of our training in-house here, so we really try to make it kind of a one-stop shop for bus drivers to make it as appealing as possible.
They hope it's appealing enough to get more drivers behind the wheel. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
All right, time for some good news now. An Iowa man now holds the world record for the biggest eggplant.
Oh, check it out. Check it out.
The fruit, yes, it's a fruit, it's not a vegetable, weighs 8.33 pounds and measures 28 inches, and it's
big.
32 inches long. The Iowa Weights and Measures Bureau was called in to officially verify the record.
Wow.
Congratulations.
It looks like a mini pumpkin. It's amazing. Well, that's incredible. A feat of farming. Thanks for watching, everyone.